This hearing is now called to order. Ms. Helen Lawkid, can you please call the next person for testimony?
Sheriff Rochelle Bilal.
I'm injured.
Yes. Yep, you can have a seat. Before you get started, just want to thank you for your hard work and your dedication and working in partnership with members of council, City of Philadelphia, as we try to find our way through the pandemic, through the tons and tons of food that you've given out, through the various community outreach initiatives that you have hosted, as well as partnering with me on several Peace Not Guns outreach initiatives. And so just state your name and your title for the record, and please begin your testimony.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, President Johnson and members of City Council. I am Rochelle Bilal, Sheriff for the City and County of Philadelphia. Joining me today are my staff members, Tyreek El Shabazz, who is the Undersheriff. Patrick Lee is our Chief Financial Officer. Craig Martin is our Senior Chief Budget Officer. Deputy Chief Vonda Hairston, she can raise her hand, is our Court Operations. Chief Inspector Sean Thornton is our Court Operations. Inspector Nicole Nobles is our Warrant Unit. Inspector Sean Marshall, our Internal Affairs, Division and Training Bureau. Inspector David Fallon, Civil Enforcement. Inspector Josh Perez, Court Operations. Captain Paul Fallon, Transportation. And you may see two young ladies sitting back there. They are our Undersheriff, Lavonda and Cheyenne. I am pleased to provide testimony on the Office of the Philadelphia Sheriffs for fiscal year 2025 operating budget. Plans for fiscal year 2025. Our office's main objectives are to support the blueprint for safer Philadelphia, execute all orders from the 1st Judicial District, courts, deploy personnel to find and return excess proceeds to those citizens impacted by property sales, which will allow them to have access to home buying and other economic opportunities in Philadelphia. In supporting the city's blueprint for a safer Philadelphia, and in keeping with the mayor's platform to have a safer, greener, and cleaner city, the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office has contributed to this plan and stands ready to do more. Under our civil enforcement and warrant units, deputy sheriffs and detectives have been essential in apprehending fugitives in 2023 while working in concert with the District Attorney's Office and the Philadelphia Police Department. In addition to our first order in serving and protecting the courts, our civil enforcement personnel have been instrumental in tracking repeat offenders who often appear first in domestic disputes, complaints, summons, and subpoenas, and more. If we are to achieve our goals of improving the safety of Philadelphia, I propose we expand our efforts using technology and increase personnel to help us move in concert with other law enforcement agencies. To that end, we are very excited to utilize our new Tyler Tech system, which enable our deputy sheriffs to receive and execute PFAs, protection from abuse orders, and other court orders in real time. In essence, deputy sheriffs will now be able to complete a court order or on their mobile devices while out in the field. eliminating the normal waiting period. With this new technology, the normal delays between our office and the courts would be eliminated, potentially reducing the number of repeat offenders left out on the street. All of this will be beneficial to the public. The Sheriff's Office, as demonstrated in providing security details during the election in 2023, has become the backbone in meeting the demand for more trained law enforcement officers. This including bring more deputies in our bike and K-9 unit, which the city utilizes daily, as an increase on foot patrol presence in our city and outline the blueprint for a safer Philadelphia. However, our office's inability to retain high-caliber deputies, and I'm sure y'all have heard this over and over, but I got to put it in for us, to perform their duties is because the deputies' salaries are not compatible to other counties within Pennsylvania and on national level. We lose deputies to other departments outside the city because of the pay. Our real estate department, through court mandated, execute foreclosures and evictions, sells seized properties at auctions, and returns excess funds from sales to former owners. Through the integration of new civil process system provided by our new IT system, Tyler Tech, our ability to lessen the amount of time per sales transaction, along with providing transparency and accountability, will only improve the sheriff's sale process for our citizens. The Sheriff's Office continues to budgetarily fall below the number of personnel needed to effectively handle our responsibilities in protecting and serving citizens. Through our robust community outreach department, our staff participate in hundreds of community events to educate our citizens on the importance of gun safety, sheriff sales, and the overall function of how the Sheriff's Office works. My administration carries out these messages through our citywide food box giveaways, events, and other signature community events. With the leadership of this city council body, I am certain we can achieve our objectives together. We must first ensure that this budget process will be handled professionally and fairly. And the reason why I say that, earlier this year, we learned that the Sheriff's Office budget proposal from last year and really the last 4 or 5 cycles was not placed properly thereof, and it was not considered. We can propose and give the reasons why we need certain things in the Sheriff's Office, but guess what? That never got to y'all. There was an alternative budget that was given in place of what we gave and what our justifications were. This meaning we got virtually nothing at budget time. This is unacceptable. And I trust this year's budget process will be executed honorably to reflect this year's budget proposal and the focus as we strive to adhere to the safety requirements that kept our citizens protected. We will now proceed to our fiscal year 2025 through 2029 budget plan, and feel free to ask us any questions, and thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sheriff, and thank you for your thorough presentation. Just a couple questions. So your request is additional $10.3 million beyond the administration proposed FY25 budget. So can you just give us an overview on how you're going to be budgeting and utilizing the $10 million? What exactly is it for?
So for proposed fiscal year, and I'll let the budget people come up shortly, 2025 general fund budget totals $46,655,029, an increase of $13,788,581. Over fiscal year 2024 estimated obligation levels, this increase is primarily due to an increase in Class 100 employee compensations due to needed staff. This increase is essential due to the understaffing of uniformed and non-uniform employees. This will increase our potential to adequately perform the duties of the Sheriff's Office for Class 200 purchases of services which entails professional services, improved technology, and computer augmentation, for Class 300 and 400 for material supplies, new vehicle purchases, and equipment, which includes needed tactical gear. What we learned in the last 3 years is the sheriff was called on more than you can imagine and did not have the equipment to actually get out on the streets with our other law enforcement personnel.
What's the current number of uniform staff?
That we have now,
Yes,
270,
270. And how are the,
which is way below of what we needed, because if you could see in our overtime, it's because we don't have the people.
now I know I talked to folks from the courts, right, when I did a presentation with them on another topic, and they talked about the need for sheriffs inside the courtroom. Elaborate in terms of the number of staff that you had and also being able to cover our court system.
Okay. For those I will bring up to deal with the courts. Come on, Paul. Fallon and Rhonda. I'm going to step aside for a second. Okay. You have Chief Deputy Rhonda Hairston, who is over court operations, and you also have Fallon here, who is also involved in a lot of the court operations. When we get down to our deputies and their proportions on how they secure the courts, and because we go the Juanita Kid Stout Center, which people call the CJC, we have family court, we have traffic court, we have the Widener building, and we have City Hall here in this building. So, Rhonda?
Currently, I don't have the numbers for 1501, but I know at the Justice Center we have 87 deputies. We require maybe 160 for the court to operate efficiently.
So you have about 80, but you need
We have 87.
87. But you would need how many?
150 would do us great.
About 150. Okay. And I would think that not having the level of staffing.
She has to get closer.
Not having the level of staffing that you need obviously would create a public safety hazard in the criminal justice center, because we hear judges are saying they want to have coverage, right? Judges that want to feel secure throughout the building. Obviously, that's a direct correlation between the amount of sheriff officers that are able to cover the building versus not. And so I just want to get that on the record based upon conversation that I had with the Barristers Association, and told them I would follow up and take a look into this matter to see how we could be supportive from that aspect. At this time, we're going to call on Councilman Ketty Lozada.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank the sheriff and her team for all of the outreach that has been happening in the 7th Council District. Even prior to me coming into office, we're grateful for all of the education that you have provided to community residents and how the process of your office works. Thank you so much for your work. My first question is, in the mayor's 100th day, she enthusiastically announced that the sheriff and the administration and government had reached an agreement on beginning sheriff sales again. Can you share with us how that process will work? And can you also tell us if this legislative body will receive a copy of that agreement?
I didn't hear all of what you said, I know.
Can you share with us how the sheriff's sale, the new agreement, how that new process will work? And will this body receive a copy of the agreement that you all reached?
Yes, council can actually see the agreement that we're working together on that. What most people try to believe is that we can't work together, but we can. If we were never invited into the room to have the conversation to work together, then you can assume that we don't, but we do. The mayor and my staff have had a conversation with the law department. We worked out an agreement, and hopefully by July, the tax lien sales will go. We never stopped them. We did have the mortgage sales continuing on, and there was another sale that was going on. It was one tax sale that was continuing to go on once the pandemic ended. There needed to be an agreement made to finish up the contract with us, and that's done. We're just working out those. So by July, those sales will go up. We have put a lot of effort in protecting citizens in this city in reference to foreclosures and tax lien sales. We have updated the policies and procedures. We made sure that they had the same protection, even more, going through the process. You can stop a sale before, during, and immediately afterwards if we get a court order to do so. And in that process, when people are going through that, we made sure that we put out information, and all of this is on our website, on how you can save your home. And I mandated a constituent services unit that has never been in the sheriff's office. And their job was mandated to get all the information, local, state, and federal, on how you can save your homes. And so when this process starts, we know in a mortgage foreclosure, the company sends out information. But we go further. When we have to post or initiate something, we give them the pamphlet to call us, and my constituent services walk them through the process and connect them with the agency that can best help them. And I tell people this because, and how we know it works, because at one point when we first came in office and we put this into place, there was 620 sales going on that day. When we started sending out information to families that were dealing with this issue, that sale went down to 17. What we say is, if you know the information and people are there to help you, instead of going in your home and just shutting the door, you will step out and grab that help and therefore be helped in order to save your home.
When I was the chief of staff prior to becoming elected, we oftentimes used Anna Ramos, who was a Spanish speaker, to help people that were going through the sheriff process. Is there a person in your office that will be able to respond to the needs of council members when working through issues with constituents in the Spanish language as well as in other languages?
Yes, matter of fact, our brochure that's online is in English and Spanish. And we're working on the other languages for everybody else. We have somebody in our office, a Spanish-speaking interpreter, that basically can walk through the real estate part with you. I'm working on hiring, if I get the budget that I need, a Spanish person in our constituent services, so they can basically work on that too.
Okay. And then most of what you mentioned is online. We know that there's a digital divide, especially in poor communities. Is there another way for residents to receive information or become educated in the sheriff process that does not require them to go online?
We are out in the communities. And I say when we are out in the communities, we are out in the communities everywhere with all of this information. And any city council in the office can basically go online, print down that information for your constituents, basically yourself. We would like to print it, but I think everybody has their own budget, so you can go online, print it down, and put it there. But we are out in the communities everywhere. And if a council district wants us to come to your district to have a conversation with your constituents about what the sheriff office does, and we can go through step by step on the process of sheriff sales. We can do a PowerPoint presentation, because that's what we've done to some areas, as go step by step. We did it up at E9, where their real estate people brought us in to basically go step by step on what that process is. We're willing to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. The chair recognizes Jeffrey Young.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, Sheriff.
Good afternoon.
Just one quick comment before I have a question. I know that the administration did not send over your budget detail. And I'm asking if you can help, us get that detail from the administration, if they can send that over to us.
And see, that's when I said to you, when we send over our budget details, we send graphs, we send justification, we send all of that. And we just found out that y'all don't get all of that information, that there was an alternative budget given to City Council for the past 4 cycle from finance. And so when we get here, we get what they want to give us and not what we needed. And so I can't even say in the past administrations, did they get the funding, because they might not even got their budget requests. So today, I bought copies for everybody.
Oh, thank you. That's really appreciated. So we can really see, line by line, where the investments are being made at in our city. And just a couple of questions I have. Could you provide us with, tell us about some updates that the office has done, and if you're given an increase in this budget, like what exactly will this increase do, right?
Okay. Yes. I will let the undersheriff start as far as everything that has been updated in the sheriff's office.
Well, if we can first start with technology. In light of how quickly we can get out information through now Tyler Tech and through working with our partners, we have the ability to get all of the information out through technology. For example, we have been dealing with, for the first time in the 2nd year in a row, escheatment of excess proceeds. The escheatment process through excess proceeds required us to do investigation, the investigation that law enforcement officers can do and other people cannot. The sheriff was able to deploy a team through technology and through our sources to contact and to find individuals who may not live in the city anymore, but actually are the owners of those excess proceeds. Mm-hmm. We were able to contact them, to give them an opportunity to come in, and to alleviate the 1/3 that a lot of lawyers like to charge, but to give them a simple form that they can fill out. We verify their identification, we verify that they're the rightful owner, and we're able to cut a check prior to sending out. The same thing with excess proceeds, which is an improvement. We took over excess proceeds from the city based upon a consent decree that was existent before we came. We were able to not only locate people, but to prepare the report, to file the report, and to actually give back money before sending the report to the state. We've also been able to increase our PFA protection program, which we do along with other partners. That gives us the opportunity to locate individuals, serve PFAs, but also add the addition of confiscating individual firearms if those individuals have them. We're able to do that by extending our reach We did that through working in cooperatively with the Philadelphia Police Department and other partners to have actual locations where people can turn those things in. We additionally were able to, through again technology, make a determination whether or not someone actually has a firearm that is registered that indicate that they no longer have it. And then we turn that information over for investigation to the Philadelphia Police Department. In addition to the technology, we've created in our armory unit something called the Beast. We didn't create it, I shouldn't say that, sound like Al Gore. We actually got a program that the law enforcement use. What that does is it allows us to keep a running inventory of those things that are confiscated. And we know where they are, when they were confiscated, and who the individuals those weapons belong to or who they were confiscated from. Now, that doesn't help us with illegal firearms, but if in fact we find that there was someone who filed a PFA and indicates that that individual may have a firearm, we work cooperatively with PPD to do further investigation to retrieve those weapons. We retrieve them, we put them in our high-tech, now innovative armory that didn't exist when the sheriff came. We're able to place and hold those items. The sheriff also, through innovation, again, armory and firearms, because firearms is a big issue in the city and county of Philadelphia, we're able to now work on destroying those firearms. So if we have firearms, and I'll finish with this, because the sheriff told me before I came over here, don't be a lawyer, just answer the question.
It's hard, it's in our nature.
We're able to actually make more room for the confiscation of firearms by first locating or trying to locate people who may have firearms in our armory. If we can't, and those are by court ordered to be destroyed, we've worked with an organization that allows us now to destroy our firearms, and that is something that we used to do jointly, we're able to do alone. So those are just really 3 narrow or 4 narrow things, but I think that they centered around firearms, and I thought that maybe council would be more interested in those aspects.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do ask that if we could place the sheriff's budget charts on our portal so the public can access that as well.
Yes.
Absolutely, granted that the sheriff's office provides that information to us digitally. Helen Lawcare, our chief financial officer, will handle that process.
Yes, we will make sure that it's sent over by the end of the day.
You're welcome. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Hardy.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, Sheriff, or good afternoon, Sheriff.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
Again, I'd like to also commend you on your work you've been doing in the neighborhoods with the outreach of giving food out during the pandemic up until now. I've had the pleasure of being with you on numerous occasions because my union that I belong to is one of the partners. So we had I know you helped a lot of people in that process during the COVID thing. I also am probably, I believe, the only person on council that actually worked in the sheriff's office. So I'm fully aware of the things that you do and all the things that you guys have to do every day to keep us safe. And we thank you for the deputies you have here that are always watching out for us. I just have a couple of quick questions. Does the sheriff's office operate under the city IT department? Do you guys have access to that?
I'll start off and then I'll have our Chief Financial Officer come up. No, we don't. One of the things, since this is my second term, my first 4 years was education. And when people think that we are a department within the city, we are not. And so we had to have our own IT department to operate any of the problems that we have IT-wise. And I'll let the CFO get into it in detail.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of council. My name is Patrick Lee, and as the sheriff so eloquently presented me, I am her chief financial officer, and she reminds me every day I report to her. So one of the things that we did find out during the process of our analysis was this, that IT augmentation was going to be integral into the 21st century mindset that the sheriff was bringing into the office. What we didn't know is that we didn't have direct access because we are considered an office to staff to support that. So we literally have to pay and use one of the city contracts, the IT augmentation contract, to support our data analysis, our day-to-day IT support operations, database management, and those are the main three functions that we use that contract for, without which we wouldn't be able to field the current civil serve software if we didn't have these people in place that we were able to get into position about 8-9 months ago.
Okay. Sheriff, can you tell us how have you improved access, how have you improved the access? I'm losing my spot here, I'm sorry. All right, how have you improved the access proceeds and real estate process since you've been in office?
Access proceeds, yeah, talking about that, yes, ma'am.
I'll start off with the excess proceeds. So in your package, we basically put the analysis of it. If you look in your package, you have this. This will tell you that we basically took what was done 4 years prior to us and doubled the amount of excess proceeds that went to families that went through that process. That means we took it from 4 years under a previous administration of $4 million to $8 million plus under the 3 years that I've been in office. That means it took a year for us to figure it out, and then the 3 years after that, those excess proceeds have doubled. And the reason is this. We had people working in the office as detectives that's in our civil unit, and all they were doing was just doing the civil work. Well, I'm coming from the police department, being there 27 years. If you're a detective, your job is to seek and find. And so part of their responsibility became the civil part, and the other part became detective part. And so by using the technology that police departments, law enforcement have that nobody else has had, basically put them onto that and so they can locate people more efficiently through those type of programs. Go ahead.
It was also the benefit of it's also the benefit of using the technology. We have which is now the contract that we reached agreement with, Bid for Assets and as well as Tyler Tech. These processes allowed us to have first-hand touching of individuals that were engaged in excess proceeds. Location, location, location is the most important thing. Then information that we located the person, we informed them that they have excess proceeds, and then the ability to track the amount of money that is received, the amount of money that goes into each particular individual designated account, and the amount of excess proceeds after, in fact, the lien holders are paid that belongs to the individuals. Because we're able to locate them, because we're able to inform them, because we have the ability to tap into those actual accounts, which I am going to add at this particular point, that are viewed by finance, that are viewed by revenue, and viewed by treasury. There is not a dollar that goes into the account, any account of the Sheriff's Department that can't be seen by finance, revenue, and treasury. And by clarifying through technology the accounts and designating them and naming them properly, we can demonstrate where the money is and how that money goes out, and we can get it to the people that are actually hurting.
And one of the things we want to make sure that you know, we advertise that you don't have to pay a person a third of your money to get your money. That you can come directly to us and we'll give it to you free. Most people, and we call them wreck chasers, like y'all know about wreck chasers, will go out and tell people you got money, and if you give me a third, then we'll go get it for you. We tell the people you don't need to pay anybody a third of your money. If you have excess proceeds here, you can come directly to the office to get it.
Thank you for that. And why doesn't the sheriff's office have enough funding to add deputies to Class 100?
Why we don't have enough funding?
Yeah.
Let me say, and I believe I need to say this again. She's trying to keep me calm, but I am calm. The reason why is, and like I said, we just found out that when all the package that I just gave y'all city council never saw it. That finance will come up with another way, or will say, we're going to give you what we want to give you, and so you really didn't know what the needs of the sheriff's office was. That's why in 2020, I walked into an office that had computers with backs, like your old tube TV, and my grandchild got the flat screen, and she's 7. So that's prehistorically have equipment within the sheriff's office that couldn't even take the data that we needed to put in place, the policies and procedures and the information that need upgraded technology. It couldn't even accept it. So that those are the things that we needed to update the office with, and y'all did not receive that information. So that's why I was wondering why he didn't have it, and that's why you will get it from now on from us.
Additionally, it's environmental. Law enforcement environmentally is at an all-time low. So trying to get people to engage and to want to be law enforcement officers is difficult. Additionally, we can't get single parents because those individuals have to go to Penn State for 19 weeks to train, and they're away from their family and their loved ones. The sheriff has engaged in conversations with PPD, Philadelphia Police Department, and we've been trying to negotiate and talk to them. We're going to talk to some people that aid us to allow us to train them with room that is available at PPD's training facility. That would mean that people don't have to go away for 19 weeks. They can actually leave their home, go to the actual training facility on State Road, train there, and then come back. If we're able to alleviate some of the barriers, additionally, the sheriff already addressed one of the major barriers, money. There is no starting salary bonus. The amount of money that people are paid in the salary, that's a CBA issue and not a Sheriff Bilal issue, but it's an issue nonetheless, is so low that it makes more sense for individuals that are interested and live in Philadelphia, that want to be sheriffs, to go to one of the counties so that they can take care of their family. These individuals that are seated back here as the inspectors and the chiefs, these are individuals that are actually very, very dedicated. It isn't based on what they're making, it's based on their desire to do an action.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The chair recognizes Councilmember Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
Well, I just wanted to say, number one, thank you for being here. I was just thinking about, I think it was maybe a year and a half ago, and we took a photo, and it was a photo of yourself, our then police commissioner, and our then prisons commissioner. And they were 3 African-American women in law enforcement leadership here in the city of Philadelphia. And you're the last man standing, so to speak.
I said that to Outlaw just about a week ago. I said, you left. Then I called Blanche up and I said, you left. And I'm the only one standing here.
But you're standing strong. You're standing strong, and I have an appreciation for that. And I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. But I do want to just make a remark or two first, which is that, we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I know you as someone who is dedicated, who didn't just show up when you were running for office, who has been out, as they say, in these streets for a very long time doing a lot of good things, whether it was with the police department, the sheriff's office, the Guardian Civic League, banging on our doors and making sure we get that Officer Laretha Baird street sign going up. It's coming this year.
Okay.
But you've been out here doing good things, great things, prior to becoming sheriff. And then after becoming sheriff, we see you out and about doing some things that aren't really traditional for a sheriff's office to be doing, with the workshops, with just the office presence, with food giveaways and things that really touch folks, so that their interaction with the sheriff's office Doesn't have to be a negative. You know, if you know them because they took your grandmother's house, or they, you know, had something to do with somebody in your family, you know, being incarcerated, or, you know, just any interaction that was negative, you know, it may have that sort of a feel, you know, for some families, but changing that narrative, I think, is very, very important for our communities, so that we can build relationships and also, you know, foster a sense of, you know, you're not the bad guy. You're here to help, and you're here to make our communities better. So I just really wanted to point that out and say thank you so much for the work that you are doing. And I did want to ask you just a couple of questions. I wanted to ask you specifically about when you do have to engage and have someone taken into custody. And I know that you all, you know, because there's a few different entities that are involved in that work. And so I know there's some on the federal level, there's U.S. Marshals, but also I wanted to ask you about the Fugitive Warrant Unit and the success of its ability to capture fugitives. Because one of the things that I believe that's happening right now is that you have a very small group of people who are doing a whole lot of damage. And because they haven't been apprehended, the damage continues, and it spreads. You know, it spreads among their colleagues and people close to them. So can you talk a little bit about that and your success in that area to protect us and keep our neighborhoods safe?
Thank you very much for that question,
You're welcome.
Councilwoman. Here with me, I have the inspector of the warrant unit, Nicole Nobles. The one thing, when I came into office, my chief deputy was Vernon Muse, who retired. And one of the things he said to me very nicely is, we don't go in and beat up nobody. But we do effectively bring people in because we treat them like human beings. And so Inspector Nobles will tell you the ins and outs of the warrant unit and what it does, and some of the things most people don't even know that we're doing right now.
Yes, one of the trainings that we get is crisis intervention training. So that helps a lot with issues of mental health. When we go into houses, they're taught to be respectful, to understand that everyone is in the house isn't under arrest. I believe in treating everybody respectfully. We make sure that we come in big numbers, and that's just for officer safety. When we bring someone in, we're bringing them into the prison, and most of the time we're just letting them know we're just trying to take them to their next destination, because we only the arm of the court and we're not the judge. Also, we deal with the probation building. We deal with JBWs, which is judicial body warrants. So anyone who's on house arrest, I'm responsible for them. If they go outside of the hours that they're supposed to leave the house, then we are to go arrest them. Also, we deal with the probation building itself. Anyone who is arrested inside that building, the sheriff's office is arresting them in that building.
Okay.
Just recently, the sheriff put in effect our fugitive arrest website is for our top priority people that's wanted. What it does is if we come to a dead end, we've been to all family members' houses, we ran through any addresses that the judges put on bench warrants, then we put them on our top priority list. On that list, we'd like the public to come and give us tips. So far, since we put it in effect, we have arrested 3 individuals off of that list. So it's very effective. And also, if someone is to give tips and they want to do it anonymously, they don't want to like speak to someone, that's a great way that they can give tips.
Thank you. And go ahead.
The Fugitive Warrant Unit is on our website. And let me tell you how effective it is. And we say to people, especially if you don't know somebody, we tend to meet people at different locations and you try to bring them into your house. What we say is go on our fugitive priority list to make sure they ain't wanted. Because you don't know them. And if you check that to make sure they ain't wanted, then you don't get this smoke up in your house. Because at some point we coming for that person. So go on the fugitive warrant list.
Well, yeah, there's nothing like seeing somebody outside of your door with a battering ram getting ready to come in and to get somebody.
And you don't know.
And you don't know, I have no
You
idea. But I thank you for your responses. And the last thing I just wanted to ask, and then relieve my time, is about, Madam Sheriff, your employees, and particularly those who do that more dangerous work of engaging with, picking folks up and all of the things that it entails. Can you talk about your staff and like mental health services? Do you all provide additional mental health services? Because I think that is just really, really important that we make sure that we offer those services, particularly to law enforcement. Like it has to be integrated into, what, benefits and things that they're receiving, training, that they're receiving.
Yes, again, so we do crisis intervention training. That's when another entity would come out if we needed to. They come with us to the location, and they'll help us get this person 302, or even if they need services for their home or anything of that nature. We're made up of 18 deputies. We should at least have 48. We're a 24-hour unit, so we're out there every day trying to help individuals, anybody that we encounter. So anytime we encounter with someone with mental health, the sheriff sent us to training to deal with that.
We, our employees get the same type, because we get all the city services that come down for any mental health service, any special issues that they're dealing with. We make sure that they get that. Okay. And so, yes, we try to keep people level-headed in the sheriff department, especially our warrant unit. And when she said we are 18 and we are down, and we should have 48 out there.
That's a lot.
And we run 24/7. One of the issues that we are having is I don't even know, and when I say to you, I don't know if y'all got our budget requests prior to me coming on board, but the vehicles that we use today, all of them are flagged right now. And so in the budget request that you see, we need vehicles, because not only do we use it for transportation, but the Philadelphia Police Department calls on us regularly in dealing with any civil unrest, any protests, any major events that happen in the city. The sheriff's office is a part of that. We are part of the task force. We have Deputy Sheriff in the FBI, BNI, the Attorney General Narcotics Task Force. We are working together as a law enforcement collaboration. DEA, FBI, Philly PD, the Sheriff's Office. We are always there and working together in it. That's when the mayor said one Philly, one Philly.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Councilwoman Nina Mai.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon. Good to see you.
You too.
And I have to commend you on, when you ran for office, you talked about how to make this sheriff's cell process much more humane.
Yes.
And I hear and see that you're continuing to do so. And to Councilmember Cindy Bass's point about mental health resources, I don't know if you work with the Department of Behavioral Health or you have your own training, but I just said this to the First Judicial District as well, that these spaces are so traumatized and so fraught that if we can give more resources to calm things down so they don't escalate into other issues, we would love to see that happen. So I don't know if you can speak to who is doing the training and what help you get from Department of Behavioral Health.
We work with behavioral health and all of this. The police department has a training to deal with mental illness that our deputies are a part of. See, we latch on to what we see is already happening. So by me being in the police department for 27 years, I still know people in the police department. So I will call up, if you got this training going on, can I send some of my deputies up there? Can I have somebody go over there? If behavior health is having something special, can I send some of my people there? We tend not to live in a side lot by ourselves. I kind of look at everything that's going on around the city, and whenever I can engage everybody or my unit into it, we make sure that they get involved.
Do you have data around the sheriff's sale properties, right? In the sense that these are coming from tax delinquent absent landlord, or these are coming from owner-occupied spaces? Is there a way to sort out that data so we know where their services are needed more specifically?
Yes.
So you do have a breakdown of what can you tell us what percentage of what you do is these owner-occupied, somebody who just fell behind, versus somebody in New York who bought up a whole bunch of properties and was tax delinquent and is absent?
Okay, I'll let Tariq speak to that, but one of the things we made sure that when we went from the in-person, and when in-person was going on, we interviewed our real estate people. And what we found out was the biasness, the bullying that happened in person, and because of the mandate of the mayor at the time and in the pandemic, we had to find a way to do our responsibility, so we went virtual. And by talking to them, what we saw that doing it virtual takes away the intimidation, the biasness, and when people said that people gonna come in from Mars and Venus to buy everything, we have data that says that does not happen. That it gives those residents of this city an opportunity to get to a sheriff's cell when they wasn't able to. And so we will put that data specifically together because of our new technology system called Tyler Tech. We are working on the different entities that need to be prevalent when it comes down to services in this city.
So I have a question about Tyler Tech. Since you mentioned it, I see they have, how long is their contract? Start date was 2023, I see.
Yes.
And then it says exemption due to emergency. There was no RFP for this, correct?
Is
And,
that,
and so how long is this contract on for?
go ahead.
Yes, based on that exemption, it runs out as far as our office paying them till about 7 years, because it's software as a service. So that includes the updates, the upgrades, and the maintenance that's involved with that, just to get it fully activated. That's the best way to put it.
So, and it says,
And so that we're clear, this process, although it didn't go through the RFP process, it did go through the interview process. We interviewed 3 separate companies with the idea towards getting one that would be able to meet the needs that we had. In addition to preparing the contract, preparing all of the legalese, for lack of a better term, and not wanting to bore you, we worked directly with the law department as, I would say, both the young attorneys, Cheyenne and Lavonda, worked tirelessly with me kind of being a standing over them with a whip to get this done. So everything that we did with respect to Tyler Tech was ran through the law department, was approved by the law department, and the contract was indicated that we can do it for this length of time.
thank you. I'll hold my questions for the next round, Council President. Thank you so much.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Rulandau.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. And thanks for this additional budget information. It's very, very helpful. I wanted to first get an idea of the staffing, because I was confused as to what I was reading, that it seems to me I believe you asked for $2 million last year for Class 100, but you're asking for 12 million. Let me get the right page. Yes, but you're asking for 12.6 million this year, and then you have 432 budgeted positions. I believe 322 are filled, and now you're asking for 80 uniformed positions and 30 civilian positions, but there's still 90 vacancies. So are you basically asking for 200 positions?
Right, so let me start off, and I'm gonna let our budget analysts
Okay.
fill in the gaps. Part and parcel, infrastructure, when it came to personnel, there were really gaps with regard to the types of skills that were required to run the office efficiently. We found out we needed data support clerks just to handle the data entry due to the sheer volume of cases that have to be entered. And then in conjunction with that, we also have entries that are financial in nature. The sheer volume requires oversight to make sure that we keep it accurate. And so with those positions that were mentioned, they are added to what the sheriff came in with, but as we saw, we needed to add more to cover these gaps in real estate, accounting, the general financial operations, and procurement as well. So it's a conglomerate.
So it is,
Additionally-
it's like, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
please.
Additionally, we have been tasked with, and there's been some legislation that came down from the State House, and I think that the council president is going to have that if he doesn't already. We are actually being considered to take on all evictions now. And in order to take on all evictions, then it's going to require us to take on some more personnel. And so that personnel is in that grouping of extra personnel that we may need.
Okay. What's the breakdown? So if you have 90 vacancies, 80 uniform, 30 non-uniform, out of the 90 vacancies, how much of that is uniform versus not uniform that you still need to fill?
Craig Martin, Chief Budget Officer. We have actually about 120 vacancies. We have 80 vacancies in uniform, and we have basically about 40 or more vacancies non-uniform. One of the problems that we have is in Class 100 where we hire, the budget department is categorically listing in the budget a certain amount of people. However, they don't give us the money to hire the people. So we go from fiscal period to fiscal period with a budget that says we have to have maybe 428 people, and we can probably only hire maybe 30 or 40 people, only because what happens is we hire from Class 100. Class 100 is broken down to sub-object codes. And there are sub-object codes that suck away from the hiring money. For example, we get a certain amount of money to hire staff, but one of our sub-object codes is injured on duty. Injured on duty, as of right now, is about $750,000. That money takes away from the bodies that we can hire. When the sheriff wants to hire, the budget department multiplies out from the payroll that she's at to the end of the fiscal period, and they say, well, you can't hire because you're overdrawn. But the reality of it is that we have never, ever, ever been able to hire, since I've been here 8 years, the amount of people on staff that we should have. We're falling behind, and that includes we can't hire replacement people and hire the people that we're supposed to hire because not only of the slowness, but also how long it takes them to approve the hirees because the money is not there. Our key problem is Class 101, where we hire people, should be a class that the other sub-object codes don't take the money from. So if we are over in overtime, takes money from people, injured on duty takes money from people, or terminal leave, all those dollars take money from the dollars that we can hire. So what happens is we just don't get to hire them, and that the process is slow.
That means if we have 428 listed, and I go say, okay, go, let's put out so we can hire somebody, and then I send it over, and they say, no, you can't. Because everything that has drawn down off that budget does not allow me to hire the 428 that you said that I'm budgeted for.
Real quick clarifying question about Class 100, though. Isn't it, there's a certain part for salary, and you're right, I'm sure in your world there is a part for injured on duty and a variety of things. Can't you, whatever amount you have for salary, though, that's just salary. So if it allows you, and there's a certain amount of positions too. Two questions. One, can't you move between class 100 yourself if you don't have as many injured on duty? And two, the amount of money for the salary positions never changes. If you budget X amount for 420 people, whatever that was, 422, X amount for that many people, it should be enough to cover the amount of people that you need.
Well, let me explain what's going on here. The class 100 consists of a lot of sub-object codes.
Yes.
If we are budgeted, say, 25 million in salaries, the other sub-object codes have a budget, some of them do. When money is sucked out by budget, it sucks away from the personnel portion. The personnel portion is not protected, meaning class 101, what you ask could happen, if we could protect class 101 from being drawn from the other classes, then we could hire. The other thing is that we recently found out that budget calculates the shortage. So what happens is we're talking about a budget shortage of about $40,000 to pay, okay? So what happens is by the time we want to hire, we just don't have the money there. And then there are times we get down to budget ordinance time and they still don't give us enough money to hire or do what we need to do. It would be really nice if the staffing portion of class 101 was protected from the other sub-object codes. Then we could hire the people that we budget for and not worry about maybe injured on duty or excess overtime sucking away from the personnel portion.
I think I finally understand. Thanks. So your sub-object codes, like overtime, are eating away at your
Absolutely.
personnel. Understood. And if you could have enough people, your overtime would go down.
Yes.
I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Catherine Gilmore Richardson. You didn't go in this round yet, did you? Okay. Jay Young went in this round already, correct? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you, Madam Sheriff. And I was listening to the conversation relative to the FY25 budgeted positions versus the positions that were filled as of 2023. Because you could see there a noticeable difference that you all are down about 110 positions. So my question is relative to courtroom staffing. With you all being down so many positions, how many deputies are needed to cover all of the courtrooms, and are you fully staffed for the courtrooms?
Let me understand what your question is. You're asking us how many deputies do we need to staff the actual courtrooms? Okay. Fonda?
Yeah. Meaning, are you fully staffed for that based on these numbers that we've received?
Right now?
Right.
We're sort of like figuring that out. I'll let Vonda tell you how we're doing it now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I can only speak for CJC right now.
Okay.
We have 63 courtrooms in the building.
Okay.
At any given time, there's about 45 of them working. We have 87 deputies assigned to CJC, but those deputies are broken down between three shifts. So the 87 covers our transportation unit, which is 37 deputies. Courts, for actual courts, we have 22 deputies.
Okay.
Our building security, 13 deputies.
Okay.
And to man our cell room, we have 14 deputies, which is short, of course. What we're doing as far as manning the courtrooms, basically all the supervisors are in court as well.
Okay.
And that's still not enough.
Right. And so my question there is, with the proposed allocation that we've received, and obviously we haven't received the full detail, is there enough in Class 100 to meet the staffing requirements for the courtrooms?
For the increase that we're asking for?
Yes.
With the increase, Patrick? For the increase that we're asking for, we'll be able to staff the courtrooms and, for deputies to be in basically each courtroom.
Okay, okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Chair recognizes Nick O'Rourke.
Blessing, Sheriff. Just a quick question. Our office has had several constituents calling us to help them with navigating the tricky terrain that is municipal government. One of the things that they're trying to do is also figure out tangled titles, but they'll receive notices of their homes going up for sheriff's sale. I wanted to know, is there a streamlined way or some pathway that we might be able to work out with your office and our office to make sure that folks are able to handle that and maybe put the sheriff's sales on hold while they figure out the tangled title piece?
That conversation was being had under the previous Register of Wills. Matter of fact, with their office and the attorneys working in my office was trying to come up with a way, and maybe city council can legislate that as to anybody going through a tangled title, that there's a period of time in which that cannot go up for sheriff's sale while they go through that process. It's not ever ending. That means you can't hold it off forever, but give it a period of time where it can be put to the side while they untangle that title and therefore rectify the situation. Then it would never have to go up for sheriff's sale.
And where did that conversation end before the register wasn't reelected?
What did you say?
Where did that conversation land? Where it just
It was
stopped?
still working on the legal aspect of it as
Okay.
to how it could be done, because you're talking about mortgage foreclosure and you're talking about tax lien sales. So those will probably have to bring in all the entities to come up with an agreement.
Absolutely. What happens is the sheriff is the arm of the court. The sheriff is the arm of the court. We don't do anything without a court order. We don't have the ability to stop a sale other than a judge saying stop that sale, postpone it, or stay it, or the attorney on the writ. The attorney that is operating for the mortgage company, the attorney that is operating for collecting on the tax lien, that particular attorney saying, we're going to pull this, we're going to stay this, we're going to postpone it. Absent that, we don't have that authority. What we were working on and what we will continue to work on, and since I've been here with the sheriff, we've been working on, is trying to get with all the stakeholders and to the same thing that the city did, and they have one of the best mortgage foreclosure programs, actually, definitely in the Commonwealth, is that judges got involved and they allowed the entities or the parties, the interested parties, to sit down and they worked things out, and there was an agreement signed. Now, we're absolutely open, and we were already working on it, to being one of those parties to have that discussion. However, if a judge orders us, absent another court order or the pulling of that particular writ or that particular decree from actually being filed and go forward, we don't have that. Do we sometimes call the attorneys on the writ and have conversations with them? We absolutely do. Okay. But absent that attorney, that individual that holds that court order, or the court making some type of court ruling or judicial ruling, we are obligated to effectuate those sales.
That's clarifying. Thank you very, very much. We'll try to see if we can pick that conversation back up. Thank you, Councilman. Council President.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to go back to something when we talked about the staff shortages that you have. And can you give us some more detail about what are your plans to address that? Like, how do you plan to staff up? Obviously, it doesn't happen immediately all at one time in one hiring event. So how long will it take? Is it going to be over a period of several years, or is there a plan in place? Can you talk about that?
Well, we've been discussing a whole weather of avenues to try to see how we can get more people in quicker. Mm-hmm. The problem I'm having is I'm having little conversations with PCCD up at Penn State that does the sheriff training. I basically have asked them, could they bring the sheriff training here? Because I already had the conversation with the police academy where they have room for our sheriff to be trained. They said if you can get 25 people in each of the class, that will happen, but they turned us down at the end of their last board meeting. So now I'm talking to the state representatives I'm trying to set up a meeting with them so we can figure out whether there can be some type of legislation on a statewide as to the sheriff's training that can be here. We're still trying to figure out the money aspect of all of that as to why we can't bring the sheriff's training here. Because it's been there forever. And so if something's there forever, it takes a little time for us to get it here. And so, but that struggle has not stopped. We also looked at the other avenues, because we'll go up to the police academy and the Nelson-Denny test. When they fail the Nelson-Denny test up at the police academy, that does not affect the sheriff's office, because we don't go by the Nelson-Denny test at all. So if they go up there and they want to be in law enforcement and they fail that test, we're trying to grab them into the sheriff's office, because that test is not an end-all for the sheriff's office at all. We also looked at avenues of sending deputy sheriffs, well, recruits to outside, like, was it Bucks County or Montgomery County? Where's the other sheriff training? Montgomery County. And that would be a cost of like $5,000 a person that's sent up there. The issue comes in this way. If they get an Act 120, which we are not an Act 120, but we have all the training, we have additional training than Act 120 gives, then they may go to other police departments. And so we have to weigh out 6 in one hand and 6 in the other. The best thing for us to do is actually get that training here. We're going out to different agencies and schools and Temple and anywhere we can go to basically let them know that the sheriff's office, and matter of fact, we should be sending up a recruitment entity hopefully by the end of this month. But what happened was we were supposed to go March the 4th to advertise that we're open for people to put in for the application to be a deputy sheriff.
Okay.
But the administration, OHR, sent us back 300 that we had already went through, that we had already notified to come take the agility test or orientation, that they did not show up, so we took them off the list. OHR said that they talked to 1 or 2 people and said that they didn't get notified. So they sent us back a 300 list to now have to contact them again for them to not show up, which they have, majority of them have not been showing up. And so that put our recruitment on hold. So these are the issues we're having with the administration part of the city. Because if we go through it, and we have all the documentation that show we notified everybody, but because somebody tell you that they did not get notified, you hold off our recruitment, which we desperately need, and you send us back 300 people to basically notify them again. And out of that 300 people, I think we got about 8. So we having kind of like halts in all kinds of areas in order for us to get the people that we need to try to recruit into the sheriff's office.
So it set you back?
Set us back.
It set you back, yes.
Because we're still, that 300 lift, I think we got about one more utility test for them to take, and then maybe we can advertise that the sheriff is hiring. But that set us back because we supposed to start at that March the 4th. It is April what? Yeah.
Thank you.
So we out around. I mean, if anybody watching this, we are hiring. We just haven't put it up yet. You can just call our office and put your name on the list. So when we started, we will let you know.
Thank you, the chair.
PSA.
Madam Bass, you finished?
President.
You're welcome. The chair recognizes Anthony Phillips. Welcome.
Council President, being in the district is important.
Absolutely.
We were in West Oak Lane earlier doing some work with some children, so I'm excited that I'm back here during budget hearings. So I just wanted to note to you, Sheriff, that you're doing a fabulous job in advocating, for your office, and really looking forward to continuing to work with you. You're also a tremendous advocate in our community, so I want to say thank you. I would love for City Council to help you and support you with your work. So one of the things that I'm thinking about as I was listening to Councilwoman Landau ask you about hiring, right? What can we do on our end to support you with getting through what it seems to be very bureaucratic measures with the budget department to support you with hiring? What is the right question? What is the right request so that we can help you as much as possible?
Thank you so much, council member, and my council person in the 9th district in which I live.
Me too.
So, first of all, thank you so much. I think under the new administration that we're having here in the city, and I do see a light at the end of the tunnel, because when we all work together, we win. And so the roadblocks that we have been receiving since I've been in office seems to start moving past that. We have going to talk to the state legislators in reference to getting the academy here in Philadelphia so that we can train deputies here in this city, and we can get those single-family parents to be able to want to take this job. We also advertising that our deputy sheriff, most of them have the weekends off and holidays, which I don't know what a holiday was dealing in the Philadelphia Police Department, because that was a no question. You don't have to even talk about that, because holidays and weekends off in the sheriff's office, most of the deputies do have that. Other than getting the word out and get those changes in, we're trying to do the best that we can.
Excellent. Thank you, Council President. That was the only question I had. Thank you.
And we also need money.
Oh, money, of course.
Let me add that to the end of it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Our deputy sheriffs need to be,
the Lord's work.
The deputy sheriffs need to be paid more, because they are, to me, they are the lowest paid law enforcement professionals that do a lot more work than most people can see.
This body was instrumental in making sure that the PPD received not only a raise, but also a signing bonus. And that helped PPD in getting more recruits. We have to address it from the CBA and from the bargaining standpoint. The salary for a deputy sheriff that desires to have a family will not allow them to continue to be here. And without advertising, you get a signing bonus plus weekends off, it is hurting us. And rolling enrollment. Right now, the sheriff talked about how they won't allow us or give us another list, but if it's continual, if it's a continual enrollment, a continual list, we can get people. Sometimes people are interested, but we take too long to open up, and so they go somewhere else.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Harity.
Thank you. You actually pretty much answered my question. What is the average salary of a deputy in other counties?
Wow. Let me do it this way. I think our captain's pay is what our captains get in the sheriff department is what I think second tier police officer gets. That's a captain to just a regular police officer. But
wow,
I think
that's
Noble's got it.
This is the expert right here.
Yes, after 3 years, a regular police officer who walks the street makes as much as a captain here. Also, they can retire in 20 years. We have to work 33 years, or we have to be 60 years old. So that's another problem, the retirement. So it's definitely the money, because, you know, a police officer and a captain making the same thing. A lot of people say don't compare to the police. Am I right?
Well, a lot of people say don't compare to what they do, but they're police, and we are all law enforcement personnel. We have different responsibilities. The police patrol and investigate. We, the arm of the courts, and we deal with a lot of the court orders. Right. But with anything that major happened in this city, we all won.
Exactly. Us going in houses to do warrants, That's a big deal. People's lives is on the line every day, going in houses, and we do arrest warrants, we do bench warrants, we do FTA warrants, that's failure to appeal warrants. We do custody orders. We take children from one parent to another. You can imagine how hostile something like that could be. We also do custody warrants. We do scofflaw warrants. We do any type of warrants you could think of. Also, we have bike officers on the street that patrol this area. A lot goes on there. They on the street like any other patrol officer. Also, we have deputies in the courtroom. They're in the courtroom with people who might have murdered someone, but it's one deputy in the courtroom. Also, we have transportation. And transportation, you're taking people from one entity to another, just like the prisons would, and we get paid less than the prisons also.
Yeah, that's crazy, really. And I know, I was actually assigned to the warrant unit as the civilian employee there under Sheriff Green. So I know most of the warrants that we were serving over there were murder, rape, domestic violence.
Right.
This isn't
Exactly.
This isn't little petty crimes like
No.
the Philadelphia warrant unit, because you guys are actually going after people who are part of manhunts for the marshals. I know you guys were partnering.
Just today, we got two weapons. We also got some drugs and cash. When we work with the other units, so far it's been 22 weapons that we retrieved off the streets. And then we also work by ourselves every day, going into houses. We don't know who's behind the door, and knock on wood, I haven't had any issues. We safely get people to their next destination, and we safely get our officers home every day.
Good. I appreciate that. And listen, I respect the work that you guys do and appreciate you. And, you know, I'm for giving our deputies a raise. I mean, it's definitely needed. I know they haven't had a raise since I worked there in the 90s. So it's because at one time, the prisons actually made less than the deputy sheriff, because that's where we got our deputies from, was the prison system, and they would transfer to us because they made more money. And the fact that we haven't kept up with them is just ridiculous. But thank you.
And you asked for numbers. Doylestown goes between 122, now this is average salary, 122,000 to 137,000 for sheriff deputies. Ours is at $67,000.
That's big disparity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Chair recognizes Councilman Rulandell.
There we go, got it. Thank you. I wanted to follow up on one thing, because I think we're calling things something different, so I wanted to be clear. You were talking earlier about excess proceeds, and is that the money that was in the custodial accounts?
The excess, well, custodial accounts, we've changed and put the actual name of actual accounts. For example, we have individual sale as an individual account. So if there's a tax account, that tax account would have if it's a Linebarger tax account, it would be a Linebarger tax account. The excess proceeds that I'm referring to is different than service fees, which I think that people refer to when they talk about a custodial account. A custodial account is a custodial account. We have custody of that particular account, the legal verbiage is. But the excess proceeds are money that is remaining after we pay for all of the bills of the lien holders. Yep. That money is still in that particular account under that particular person's name. That's the excess proceeds account. Custodial account has been used for years. And it referred to service fees account, or service
Okay,
fee money. That's
so
the
for the
difference.
excess proceeds, I know we were having an issue with mortgage and tax sales of getting the excess money that was left over back to the homeowner, even though their property was sold. Has the new Tyler Tech helped that in any way to more quickly get the money back to the owners who should receive their funds?
Absolutely. First, I have to, we haven't had any problems getting the money back to homeowners, even during the pandemic. What we have is, we have a streamline effect now with the IT system. That'll allow us to not only, since the sheriff been in, to align each account with each particular sale, but also to quickly pay off the bills, because now we're making sure that we get the proposed distribution policies within the statutory amount of time, trying to pay off those particular bills, and then highlighting the amount of money with return in terms of excess proceeds. We actually give each particular individual, when there is a petition posted, we give that individual a letter that indicates to them, you may have excess proceeds as a result of this sale. Contact our office. They contact our office. We inform them whether or not there appears to be excess proceeds here. We never discuss the amount because somebody's contacting, we don't know what it is, and they need to come in. Once they come in and produce the corrected documentation and the distribution policy is certified by the title company, they retrieve their excess proceeds. So we actually have done a unbelievable, I want to say, person's job of getting excess proceeds back. So I didn't mean to evade a question. I just think that the question was asked as we were having difficulty, and since I've been there has been no difficulty.
And the answer is yes. The new system, Tyler Tech, the portals are partners. The water company, the electric company, the gas company, the taxes can upload into the system. So therefore, what needs to be paid off is paid off a lot faster, and therefore leaves the ending balance, if there's a balance, to go back to the homeowner, because we changed it from DART, which was defended asset recovery. We didn't think a person losing their home is a defendant. So we changed it to homeowner asset recovery. And so that's quicker, that we can clear all that out, and then the excess proceeds go to that homeowner.
And my director of real estate, or the sheriff's director of real estate, just reminded me, prior to the sheriff's office and prior to what we're doing in terms of escheatment, it did take longer. And it took longer because the money was escheated to the city first, who would hold on to the money for 2 years, and then we would hold on to the money for 2 years. So that means in the sheriff's office, escheated to the city. The city would hold on it for additional 3 years. We would have to go to the city to get the money back to the sheriff's account to get the money to the people for excess proceeds. We no longer escheat any money to the city. We hold on to the money so that they're able to have the turnaround quick. There's no red tape in terms of it, because we have it in the account, and we're able to get it out. So that probably was the better answer.
Final quick question. I know you're still going to start the tax sales again soon. Are you going to give the homeowners sufficient notice before the tax sales start?
Of course.
Do you know how much notice that'll be?
We have, see, according to the law, we have to advertise at least 3 months in advance, isn't it? 3? April, May, June, July.
Depending on the sale, it's 2 months. One of the reasons why the mayor indicated that in the summertime is that during our joint meetings, we advised her and some of the members of the team that we have to advertise that certain period of time. So even though we're at the threshold of the door getting it started, we have to advertise, giving people sufficient notice. If we didn't give people sufficient notice, then we would have a legal problem on our hands. And we don't anticipate that.
And you know that.
We do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Nina Ahmad.
Thank you, Council President. I have a quick question, just housekeeping here. You submitted this testimony, correct? This is your documentation.
Yes.
And then you just handed us this. Also, it's all both coming out of your office. I just want to make sure you wrote it. I just have a quick question about Class 200. I see that there is in this handout, it's about 4 million is the difference between FY '24 and '25. And in this handout, it's 4.9 million, a class 200. So, and the actual total amount is also different. The appropriation amount is different. So I wondered which is the correct one. So this is page 4 of the testimony, and the financial summary by class on the colored sheet.
Gotcha. You have to get up here. Chief? Because he's looking at both of them.
Yes. So let me clarify, let me clarify that question, ma'am. So what occurred here was this was in addition to it was a variance between the 2 years based on the calculations from what we didn't get. So what you're seeing is a combination of numbers that are reflective of what we didn't get from the ordinance that was rolled into the current fiscal year 25. So that's why you see the numbers are slightly different only because of that.
So about 900,000 different?
Yes.
Okay, so this number is the correct number?
Yes, ma'am.
Got you. Okay. My question is about your hiring and the diversity in hiring. I saw your new hires had no Asian American Pacific Islanders, and I just wanted, what was the percentage of AAPI in total, not just the new hires across the board?
And ma'am, if you could clarify and expand on that question a little bit more.
So I see in your new hires, you had no Asian American and Pacific Islanders, it was 0, and, but there were only 9 hires, right? So I just wanted to know across the whole, all your employees, what is the diversity with respect to Asian American and Pacific Islanders?
Well, I know right now there's a, yes, that is in there, ma'am. It should be on, let me get to the right page. Demographics. In the chart that you have.
This chart?
Right, the demographics start to show on the first and second pages, the last 2 pages.
On your testimony?
No, ma'am, it's in the chart.
Oh, on the
Yes,
chart.
yes.
You can just read out, by the time I find it, you can just
Yes.
tell me.
Well, so for example, we have the,
Yes, that's right. Yes, I did see that. Thank you.
yes, it's Hispanic. Right now, that would be under other, and it just shows 1.
So I'm questioning that. Why
Right.
1?
So a lot of it has to do with, again, what the sheriff was speaking to was how we promote, how we hire, where we can promote and advertise, and a lot of that's tied to the budget.
So let's see, how deliberate are you in reaching communities in the Asian American community in the outreach you do? I know you do a lot of outreach. So I just wondered if you have in-language outreach, if you are getting feedback they don't understand or they need more education around what the sheriff's office do. We have some representation in the police department, and I just wondered where we are with this and what efforts you are willing to make to change those numbers.
We work really well with some parts of the Asian American community. Mr. Ho,
Yes, I
that
know.
he's the mayor up there.
I did introduce you to him.
Yes, and we've been working with them and looking at interpretation as to the sheriff office and what it does, and the information to them as to being partners and being onboarded with the sheriff's office. So those are the things that we're working on with Mr. Ho and the clarity of what the sheriff's office does. So we look like we need to do more, and we don't have a problem in doing that.
So just saying that AAPI is a big umbrella term.
Yes.
Just like African is a big umbrella term with different countries coming from the continent. So talking to Mr. Ho's Cambodian American community, we have South Asian, we have Chinese, other East Asians and other Southeast Asians. So I'm happy to be a resource for
Okay.
you to make that outreach. I just want to make sure when we say we are an inclusive city, we really mean that in the real sense. And I'm happy to be that solution to help make that happen. So just want to be publicly noted about that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. The chair recognized is Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleagues pretty much asked the questions I previously wanted to ask, but Sheriff, nationally, there seems to be a trend of, or the conversation nationally has been picking up regarding like squatters, right? So can you tell us what the sheriff office role is in removing illegal occupants from properties?
I'm gonna let him answer, the lawyer over here, but we're gonna keep him on the timer.
Well, this is, the sheriff's rule is when we receive an order from the court, then we will effectuate the removal. The unfortunate part is the red tape that a homeowner whose property they may have vacated for a little while has to jump through to get a court order. It becomes equivalent to an eviction. So they have to go through that particular process, even in the instance of a squatter. We encourage people, well, I shouldn't say encourage people. We can't give legal advice, but we do advise people if a question is asked that they should call, first of all, and call the police department because that person is there, and you get a 48, which is a police report. And then they have to go through the procedure. So we effectuate evictions in those instances when there is a court order, and that's after that process. Unfortunately, we don't have any authority to do it prior to.
Let me make this suggestion. Because talking to the law enforcement agencies in the city, the squatter bill is unclear. It's unclear. Most police officers don't actually know what to do when they come across a squatter. What's the reasoning? What's the law? What's the way to do it? Because people claim that they're a squatter. To my understanding, they got to have some actually legitimate information in order to say that they actually reside in a property. Some people just been pulling up, taking off, and going in, have no lease, have no electric, have no water, have no gas bill. To me, that's squatting. And they shouldn't be allowed to go into court for somebody to be evicted out of it. So the squatter bill is not clear. I think it needs to be clearer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you. Last question, Councilman Rulandow.
Thank you. It's a good learning process for me, so thank you so much. Going back to the custodial accounts, what's happening with the service fees in the custodial accounts? It's supposed to go to the city, right?
No, ma'am, it's not supposed to go to the city. The state has authorized, and people have said this, and they haven't sent me any law that indicates that. The state has authorized the sheriff to use the service fee being if we serve subpoenas or divorce decree or things of that nature, to use that fee as a operations cost fee. What does that mean? That means that the sheriff's office can be under budgeted as a city of the first class institution. And if it is under budget with respect to operations costs, for example, bulletproof vests or things of that nature, they're allowed to use those fees that are generated, a portion of them, to pay for those items. The other portion goes to the state because the state, actually under the state mandate and under the state, the sheriff's office being a quasi-city state office, we have fees that we have to pay to them. So that's why I said people use the term a custodial account. It's a service fee account. When we pay money from that account, it's transferred to our operations cost payable. That's why I indicated also that those accounts are reviewed regularly and can be seen at any transaction by the Revenue Department, by the Finance Department. Okay. it could be seen by the city as to what they do. They're tracking.
Okay.
Yes.
I might submit some more in writing. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to catch up to all that counts and appreciate that.
Well, we offered a tour of the sheriff's office because we really understand that really most of the people in the city do not understand what we do. And they don't know half of what we do. And so when we put out that you can come take a tour, ask the questions to all the entities, every department in there that the city council can, you know, look at, see what's going on, see what we're operating in, the fact that we are over top of each other. When we put in for more spaces because we had to hire the different people for specific departments up there, especially our ID and accounting. And at the last day of Marissa Waxman's day, she denied it. And we overtop each other, over 100. And so we open for council to come over, and so you can get a real look at what the sheriff's office does, because most of the time in this city, nobody really knows. So it's easy for people to say what it is that we should be doing when they don't even know what we do.
Thank you.
That's what you said to me. But anyway, that's a different story. But I know all the great work that you do. I'm just giving you a hard time that day. But anyway, I know you and your team work hard. You're always out in the community and really going over beyond the call of duty of what you're required to be doing. And so, any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, Councilman. We appreciate you.
You're
Senator
welcome.
Eaton.
Oh, one last part. I do thank you and your team for your service when y'all go after them fugitives. Thank each and every last one of y'all, because y'all putting y'all's lives on the line when you're going after the people that's on the run, but also that adds another level of public safety. So if y'all can do that like 2-3 times a month, 4 times a month, we get that budget up like with no problem. So thank you very much.
I'm going to give you a preview. We have a mini task force that does it every week.
Every week, okay. All right, Ms. Lundy, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Will the clerk please call the next person for public testimony?
Anthony Arese, Interim Executive Director. Apologize for the pronunciation.
How are you? Okay. Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you very much. My name is Anthony Arachi, and I'm the Interim Executive Director of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission.
Excellent, excellent. And to your right?
Hi, my name is Daniel Guy. I am the Office Manager for CPOC.
Excellent. Please proceed with your testimony.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, President Johnson and members of City Council. I am Anthony Arachi, Interim Executive Director of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission, and I'm pleased to provide testimony on CPOC's operating budget for fiscal year 2025. The mission of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission is that we oversee and investigate the conduct, policies, and practice of the Philadelphia Police Department. The Commission works to increase transparency and accountability of the PPD, work collaboratively to improve police conduct, enhance the quality of internal investigations, and improve the relationship between the community and the police department. Additionally, CPOC provides recommendations on how to improve the police department to the mayor, the managing director, and the police commissioner. During fiscal year 25, CPOC will continue to expand its investigations unit to further the Commission's ability to provide robust investigative oversight and data-based transparency of police misconduct. The Commission will also continue to provide excellence in outreach and constituent services to further the unit's tremendous efforts to rebuild community trust in impacted neighborhoods. The Commission will continue to emphasize oversight and accountability for community members impacted by police misconduct. In calendar year 2023, the Commission provided intake and referred 143 complaints to the PPD's Internal Affairs Bureau for investigation. CPOC's Investigations Unit responded to 12 PPD officer-involved shootings and monitored involved shooting investigations in real time. In FY23, CPOC's Audit Unit conducted reviews of 400 closed internal affairs investigations into complaints against police and reviewed body-worn camera footage and reviewed body-worn camera 3,472 minutes of footage for compliance with PPD policy and is designing a formal process for monitoring investigations into complaints against police. CPOC's Policy Unit houses several compliance processes and a complaint mediation program that is embedded in PPD operations. The Charging Unit reviewed 274 administrative misconduct discipline cases that resulted in sustained misconduct investigations. I want to highlight some of our successes from the last year. As we stated, CPOC was at the scene for 12 police shooting investigations, including the Eddie Irizarry shooting in August of '23. CPOC investigators were called to the scene immediately, reviewed body-worn camera footage that day, and we recommended the dismissal of the officer based on a review of that evidence within days. We updated the community on our monitoring of the investigation and held a community town hall with simultaneous Spanish translation to provide space for community to express thoughts and reactions. We'd also like to highlight that CPOC staff now sits on every Police Board of Inquiry disciplinary panel. CPOC staff member is a member of the 3-person panel that participates in the hearings and votes on discipline recommendations for police officers charged with misconduct. The staff member's recommendation is compiled alongside the other PBI panelists and sent to the police commissioner, who makes the final disciplinary decision. I want to highlight the first two things that I said there because they're transformative reforms that only a few years ago really never could have really been conceived of in police oversight in Philadelphia. We have civilian and oversight present during officer-involved shootings and civilians present in a forum that was largely closed to the public. CPOC has worked alongside PPD to collaboratively reform PBI disciplinary hearings. There's been more than 30 recommendations to increase efficiency and transparency in police disciplinary hearings since 2021, and more than 20 of these recommendations have been implemented by PPD. Our complaint referrals are increasing yearly. As we said, we referred 143 complaints against police in 2023, 278 separate allegations of misconduct. This is an increase from the 120 complaints we did in 2022. 93% of our complaints were taken to internal affairs within 5 business days, an increase from 89% in 2022. These increases in our successes are attributable to additional staff and a new case management system that we launched in January of 2023. Our policy unit has released in FY23 has released 30 different policy reports and explainers to help the public navigate policing in Philadelphia. Since 2021, CPOC staff has grown from 5 full-time staff members to 24 full-time staff members today. This growth includes the creation of the investigations unit, an auditing and monitoring unit, and our outreach unit. And I wanted to take this time to highlight our most significant achievement of the last couple of years, and that has been finding our permanent executive director. Our permanent executive director is here with us today, and her name is Tanya McClary, and I'd like to introduce her to you all. Now, please stand up, Tanya. I'm going to let her sit in this chair because it belongs to her. So I'd like to have her sit and say a few quick words about herself.
Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Great. Tanya McClary, incoming Executive Director for the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. I'm very excited to be here. I'm coming to you all from Dallas, Texas, but I lived in Philly for a long time. I have family here, and so I'm excited to come back and really start this new chapter in the city. I was so excited about this opportunity because before I said yes to the job, I looked at the tremendous work that this office has done since its inception. So I have have a phenomenal foundation laid. So now I'm coming to help build the house on this foundation. So I'm very excited, and I'll be making appointments to come see each of you, and I'll talk to you about the work of the office. Thank you.
We're available for any questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your testimony and for all the work of the Oversight Commission over the past several years. And in the absence of my colleague and our Chair of Public Safety, who I know cares deeply about this work, Councilmember Curtis Jones Jr., we say thank you. I know that this was one of the legislative initiatives that he has worked very hard towards, and we appreciate his efforts. And so I just want to say that for the record. Are there any questions from colleagues? The Chair recognizes Councilmember Landau.
Thank you. First, this is becoming a theme for me. I wanted to tell you I'm a huge fan, and welcome. So happy that you're here. And Anthony, you just have always done such a great job of holding the place up. I served on the Police Community Oversight Board, which was the bridge between making the Police Advisory Commission turn into CPOC, along with Councilmember Jones and a previous council member who was here. And it was super insightful and helpful to do that work to help to build the organization into what it is now. And you guys have just taken your mandate and run with it, so I'm very proud of you. I'm also the chair of the Information and Technology Committee, and trying to dig deep into the data. So tell me more about how you track the data of your complaints and all the monitoring and everything that comes from this. I know from working with the city that we have each department and agency has a different database and is tracking different things. And I'm trying to get a better understanding of what information you have and what you're going to do with it.
I'm not sure this one, is this, yeah, it's on. Okay, so we're kind of building this plane while we're flying it, right? So we're creating the ability to gather data and use that data to display to the public and to the police department and use it internally to make recommendations. Now, we are doing that via our case management system. We have already hired our first sort of data analyst person who is navigating those things, defining what we need and how to do it. The police department has been receptive to the legislative mandate requiring data transfer, and we're in the process of working out formal systems for each one of those points to figure out how they can collect it and deliver it to us appropriately, and how we can get it and get it where it needs to be so that data can be used effectively.
So I introduced a resolution to look at the 57 plus blocks that have had the most crime over the past few years. And part of what has been gathered already and what we're looking at is what those blocks need. And through all of the disinvestment that's happened over the years, what are the low-hanging fruit and the easy things we can fix? What are the harder things that we can fix, and what can we do? Is there any way in which we can partner with your data to help strengthen the work that we're doing?
100%. I mean, there's always going to be an opportunity. I mean, one of our mandates is to collect and disseminate data, an extensive amount of data to the public. And we are always available to City Council. If there's a way that we can help and our data can help you further your mission, we would always be happy to partner.
Thank you. And the last question is, I just wanted to be clear of something I think I heard you say. You have a seat alongside the police arbitrations? Let's go back to the arbitration.
Yeah, sure. Well, not in arbitration. What I was talking about was what we call PBI, which is the Police Board of Inquiry. That is essentially the court forum, right, if an officer is accused of misconduct, where they can defend themselves and a case is rendered, and then it's decided by a three-person panel. Now, historically, that was a three-person panel comprised of police officers. One of the reforms we achieved over the last few years was the seating of a civilian on that panel, and all with additional reforms of creating what is essentially a jury sheet, right? So you can have an opinion, but now you have to write down individually what that opinion is and why you have it. And that was done to prevent nullification, right? So we now have a system that you can analyze for effectiveness and track the results for it, and also having a civilian present increases legitimacy.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilmember Landau. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Ahmad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all again, and welcome.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, to your new executive director. I don't know why you were in Dallas, but you're back, or Texas.
She's not a Cowboys fan.
I am not. Good sense prevailed in your back, so that's wonderful. I wanted to first ask about a budget detail. I see in your proposed budget overview in the table that you gave us, it's about 3 million, and then in the actual funding request, you detail it to be 4.3 million. So not clear what happened there and why. So you have a budget table here giving the totals for FY25, and then it says there was a increase, and your total ask now is 4.3?
Are you, I want to make sure I'm looking at the same page that you are. Is this the proposed budget overview where it has class 100 at?
Yes.
Right here?
Yes. And then on the next page behind it is the narrative. Oh, this is my notes. The narrative is different because you're asking for 4.3 with the increase of 1.35.
Well, I think that this particular form describes our past budget, our FY25 proposed budget. I think we might have, that might be an error.
That might just be it.
Yeah, I think that's an error. I apologize.
Yeah, because it's all the same number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's flat. There's
we
something
made
wrong
an error.
there.
I apologize.
Okay, so the actual number is 4.3
Yes.
with a 1.35 increase, and most of that is going to be class 100?
Yes, most of that would be class 100. There would be some allocations for class 200 and 300 or 400, but the overwhelming majority would be staff allocations.
All right, so then I have a question about your demographic data. And I asked the same question, and you have a breakdown showing race, and you have white, black, African American, white, Hispanic, POC, 2 or more races. I don't know where Asian American and Pacific Islander went.
We have, one of the individuals on our staff identifies as Asian American, but is 2 or more.
So
They identify as both Latino and Asian American.
So I think since you've mentioned Latino here and not AAPI, that's a problematic oversight.
Sure.
And I'm finding this true of the entire city. They're completely having overlooked an entire population of 8% people who live here and represent 11% of the business community, and none of you seem to care. So it's a problem. And you guys need to articulate that, reflect that, because when I go to my community and say 0 hires for this and nobody listed because they don't see you, you could take the trouble to write out and say double or mixed or whatever. This is really, you're getting the brunt of my irritation because I have had so many people do this during these budget hearings, and it is unacceptable, just plain and simple.
Councilmember, I apologize, and I totally agree with you.
And there need to be better hiring processes to have more people represented, not just how you tabulate them, but who you actually hire. And that means going into the community, which is your job, and connecting with these communities. I made the same offer to the sheriff, happy to be a conduit and be a part of the solution, but I can't do your work. You have to have the impetus to want to do that work. I'm happy to be helpful in that process. So I just want to elevate this for the entire city. I started with the mayor. I started with the mayor's hires. Nobody got off. And I've been put here because I have to represent everyone, and we want to make sure everybody is seen and no one is left behind. And department after department keeps doing it. So you need to do better.
We absolutely will, Councilmember. And
So you can give me a plan of how and who you know in the Asian American community and how you plan. And this is, so I need a report. How do you reach out to them? How many community events have you organized? What languages do you have? Do you have translated materials? Do you have an interpreter? all of those things I would like to see.
Yeah, we actually did we did two events this year, partnered with CMAC back in the fall, and then we just did one in March. And at that event, we had, the most recent one, we had 7 interpreters of different languages, but we'd always love to do more. So if you have
And so
feedback, we'd really
so
love
CMAC represents mostly East Asian.
Yeah.
We have South Asians, we have West Asians, so we have a whole gamut of people under this big umbrella, right? So I want you guys to get educated about who that community is, and then meet them where they are.
We'll absolutely do that, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Councilmember O'Rourke.
Thank you, Council President, and good afternoon, CPOC. I want to start by recognizing my colleague who is still upstairs. We were up there hearing the good news that you, Council President, actually were a part of as it relates to the ghost gun settlement piece. But Councilmember Jones, for his leadership on the issue of police oversight and accountability. I'd like to commend you all for all the work that you and your team have put into energizing police oversight in our city, and we thank you for that. In the wake of the killing of George Floyd and Walter Wallace in 2020, over 500,000 Philadelphians took to the ballot box to approve the creation of CPOC. It's something I want to ground us in as I jump into a few of these questions. We have a public mandate to get this right and to set this commission up for success. With that in mind, can you talk us through your FY25 priority of implementing an investigations unit? If this was already brought up before I came down, I apologize, but if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem. Investigations are going to be an integral part of the future development of CPOC. Our goals now are to sort of staff that up and stand that up in a way that everybody can see. Now, there are a lot of obstacles to implementing an investigations unit for misconduct investigations. It involves negotiation and CBA negotiation, but that is not the be-all and end-all of investigations, and we can start before that's done. We intend on standing up an investigations unit that's capable of after-action reports and what we call NTSB-style investigations, right? Where we can essentially, you highlight an incident, you break it apart, you examine all of the evidence, you put it together and find a better outcome. There's a gap in oversight nationally in this area where you have trying to hold a person accountable for a thing that happened, and that's important. Equally as important is there's a lot of incidents and outcomes that are not out of policy, where no one gets arrested or no one is held accountable, but the outcome is terrible for the community, for everyone, for the police department. We want to fill that gap and prove that our investigations capability is competent and capable and worthy of misconduct investigations. We do that, we're going to be breaking apart incidents and finding a better path forward. Sometimes sometimes a police officer does everything that they're technically supposed to, but the outcome is really distasteful. And part of our job is to make sure that the outcomes are better, even if there's no one to blame for it.
What's CPOC's current capacity, if you could state for the record, your current capacity to conduct investigations, and how could the $1.1 million budget increase aid you in serving Philadelphians in that matter? Our
current capacity, we have a director of investigations. We just hired a chief investigator, and we just an internal transfer to an investigator position. This is the foundation of our investigations unit. The work of our director of investigations, Jameson Rogers, has been transformative in the world of officer-involved shootings. Where our capability now exists to begin to do after-action reports and NTSB-style investigations. That has not begun yet because the unit build-out is literally in process. Our chief investigator started only a few weeks ago. Our capacity it's flowering, right? So over the next year, we're hoping to hire 5 more and 2 legal support staff to help bolster investigations and after-action reports.
Thank you very much. Your budget materials describe outreach and engagement as CPOC's highest priority. What's that look like in practice? And can council partner with you to expand your reach?
Oh, council can absolutely partner with us to expand our reach. Our outreach unit has expanded exponentially and needs to expand further. We just recently hired our first Spanish-speaking constituent services representative, and we are trying to make inroads into all communities in Philadelphia, hiring additional staff to engage, enhance our capacity is going to be crucial to getting CPOC's message out to all communities in Philadelphia, so they know that they have an ally in this.
I want to shift now and talk a little bit about the mayor's public safety plan, which was released last week. I had it somewhere around here. I've been clear about my concerns that the plan lacks some details. At least our office feels that way, including around how police are involved in the arrest sweeps of unhoused peoples. Yesterday, the managing director and the chief public safety officers kind of struggled to provide details on how final warnings would be delivered before arrests begin, or concrete plans for handling of folks' personal belongings, which was alarming for me. I know that one of CPOC's functions is to advise the police, MDO, and the mayor on matters of policing. Have you all been contacted to advise on the mayor's public safety plan at all, including the Kensington Community Revival?
We have not been contacted directly, but we are in constant contact with the chief public safety director and the managing director and the managing director's office. We are also, we will be inviting all of you to a community event on April 30th, where we plan on having the community provide their voice on this issue and get community impact. You will all be receiving an invitation to that in the coming days.
Thank you for that. I know CPOC is fairly new, but I am curious, have you all had any experience with police oversight around issues of clearing and sweeping encampments of unhoused peoples? And are there any common complaints or concerns from community members when we engage in that particular practice?
Specifically?
Yeah. So we've
Right, so we have monitored these removals in the past, and we do intend to monitor the upcoming one. We have been in contact with members of the administration about how and where we can be most effective in that, and when we do monitor that, we will be reporting it to the community and council as a body.
I also want to ask just a little bit, and then I'll be done, about the commissioner selection process. I understand that there are currently 5 vacancies on the commission itself. Is that accurate?
There's 3 vacancies, and there's 2 impending vacancies at the end of the month.
Got it.
This month.
Okay, duly noted. But that would mean that council will have an opportunity to soon appoint our selection panel and confirm some new commissioners, right?
That's correct.
As this new council body starts that process, what are some learnings that you all have had in your first 2 years of operations working with the commission, and what qualities in a commissioner are helpful to support the actual day-to-day work that you all do at CPOC now that you know really what it takes?
Well, I mean, I think that, future commissioners should have a combination of lived experience and professional experience, governance experience, familiarity with how government works, with how policing works. I mean, I think that there needs to be a knowledge base and an education program once new commissioners are seated, so they can hit the ground running and really provide the insights needed to help CPOC complete its mission.
Okay, last one and I'm done. How would you describe the current role of commissioners versus the staff? What are some of the decision points that commissioners are responsible for, or what are the tasks that staff require approval from the commissioners to actually do?
Well, the primary role of the commissioners, outside of hiring the general counsel and the executive director, is to really be the heart and soul of police oversight in Philadelphia. It's advisory in the sense of, that's our conduit to the community, right? We want a diverse group that can really represent all parts of Philadelphia and really provide insight into what's needed and necessary in the neighborhoods that we have. I think that a disciplined commission that is active and involved can really enhance CPOC's operations.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Council President, for the grace. Thank you for your responses, and thank you for the work that y'all do.
Thank you, Council Member.
Excellent line of questioning. The chair recognizes Councilman Rue Landau.
Thank you so much. Just one last question. Why do you need, you're seeking $100,000 for rent, but you're currently in a city building?
That's correct. We're the space that we currently have. Any expansion, if we do make any hires over the next year, any expansion that we would engage in would require remodeling or new space, right? So now we're not sure, we don't have like a place in mind where we want to rent this place, but we do need the ability to move and expand our operations so we can, basically we need chairs and computers and everything else to sit in and a place to sit. We're not sure what that's going to entail, but we have been working with public property to try to create an expectation and plan, build-out plan, once this process is concluded and we know what we're working with.
But is there no city building that can accommodate you?
There might be, but we're not sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? I have a couple questions briefly before we wrap up. And I remember when this oversight committee was established. Just from your perspective, what are any barriers to police oversight from your perspective since your short period of time of being established as a committee?
Well, I would say that we're still in sort of the adolescent stage of development, right? So I will say that the administration and the police department have been very willing partners in this process. And there's always things that you're going to disagree on or maybe have a different path forward on, but they have been very willing partners in this process and open to negotiation, open to talking through issues. And frankly, as we said in our testimony, they've implemented a number of our recommendations anyway. So the barriers really, they're in the build-out process, right? And being able to hire, train, and execute what we want to do, because in oversight, you can't do everything fast enough, right? Because lives are at stake. So when lives are at stake, civilian, police, and quality of life issues in the city of Philadelphia, the biggest barrier is that we can't do it fast enough, right? We can't execute our vision and the legislation fast enough. But you can't build a house in one day, So we recognize those issues, and we're working to make sure that we are doing more with less and running fast, as fast as we can, no matter what.
And out of the $1.4 million increase that you're asking for, a total of, to support 16 additional positions in space, tell me more about what those type of positions will actually be. Where will the space be to accommodate the staff as well that you're requesting funding for?
Well, the space itself is to be determined, depending on what our funding allocation is and sort of what the plan public property comes up with. Frankly, if they can come up with a plan that doesn't cost very much money, we won't spend it, right? So, but most of our expansion is to support our investigations unit, where we intend to hire 5 investigators, 2 staff attorneys, and 1 legal services clerk. Our constituent services and outreach is going to be 3 outreach and constituent services and 1 administrative assistant. Our policy, research, and data, we need 2 data analyst specialists and 2 research analysts, and that's to provide transparent information to the residents of Philadelphia and you as a body.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? The chair recognizes Councilmember Nina Mai.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask about you working with other workers who respond to violent crime, not just PPD, such as mobile crisis units, victim advocates, violence interrupters, anybody else who's sort of working either alongside or in the same vein as police. What is your relationship to those entities, or do you have one?
Well, we have monthly meetings with the DA's office and for a free flow of information. We often, we consider ourselves a problem-solving agency. So we recognize issues when they come up. If we have a caller who maybe has a complaint against police, for example, but it appears to be more issue-related or maybe mental health-related, we try to make sure that they get what they need and where they need to go. We frequently interact with multiple different agencies, but part of our community service and our constituent service and outreach build-out of this year is going to involve further outreach into those areas and how we can provide more services to residents that need them.
So that's part of what your staff will be used for when you hire, or is it, I can't remember your breakdown.
In our outreach service and constituent services.
You do have outreach there, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay. Well, we want to first and foremost just thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your work in the area of social justice. And if there are no more questions, have a good day.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council.
If there are no other questions or comments from members of the committee, the chair recognizes Councilman Kathy Gilmore Richardson for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that City Council's Committee of the Whole stand in recess until Friday, April 19th at 11 a.m.
Second. It has been moved and properly second that we will stand and adjourn in recess till Friday, April the 19th at 10 a.m. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We will have our next Committee of the Whole hearing Friday, April the 19th at 10 a.m.